Welcome back to another exciting installment of Previews and Predictions, where I get all of you up to date and prepared for the biggest games of the weekend so you can be smarter than all of your friends. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to win some free stuff, which makes me like a modern day Santa Claus. So ho, 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 everyone. You're welcome for that really bad dad joke. And the first game that we're talking about today is Arsenal's daddy, Manchester City, versus the reigning Premier League champions, Chelsea. Fresh off of back-to-back 3-0 warm-up games against mid-table powerhouse Arsenal, City welcomed Chelsea back to the city of Manchester, a place where the Blues just lost last week to Manchester United 2-1, which not only continued their uneven form this season, it also dropped them out of the top four for the first time in a long time, and it highlighted their lack of confidence, especially for their record signing Alvaro Morata, who has now gone 10 games without scoring a goal, which sadly for him is bringing back memories for everybody that loves Chelsea of another Spanish striker that struggled wearing a Chelsea shirt, and his name was Fernando Torres. And I'm not sure you ever want to be linked with Fernando Torres, at least in that way. Also, another weird issue that I've noticed with Chelsea, especially in the big games, is that their Italian stallion manager keeps taking Eden Hazard off the field around the 75th minute mark. And I mean, what is up with that? Does that make sense to anyone, anywhere? I mean, if you have one of the best players in the league on your team who can change games by himself, why not let him play the full 90 minutes? It defies logic. Anyway, as for Manchester City, there's nothing really left to say about them. We all know they're easily the best team in the Premier League, and they really look like they're enjoying themselves out there, which is always very important. And fun fact, if they keep doing what they're doing, which is winning games quite easily, I'd like to add, they might be able to wrap up the league with a victory over Manchester United next month, or better yet, for all of us somewhat neutrals, if they keep winning and United drops some points, then it's possible that United would have to do a guard of honor for City, which means Jose Mourinho would have to bow down to Pep Guardiola, and that would be pretty funny to see. Either way, I'm really looking forward to that game next month. But as for this one, I'm going to say City wins 1-0. And I never call games 1-0, but I think this one will be tight. And up next, we head to Italy for the Milan derby. And I know you're not going to believe this because I hardly believe it myself, but AC Milan, yes, AC Milan just spent 4 days in Rome last week facing Roma in Serie A and Lazio in the Coppa Italia, and they left with 2 victories and 2 clean sheets. And yes, their young superstar Patrick Cutrone was once again on the score sheet. So thanks to their manager Gennaro Gattuso, though, let's be honest, it should be Eno. Milan have now gone 13 games unbeaten, conceding only 4 goals in their last 16 games, and turned around what was once a horrible season into something positive. And now they're in a cup final against Juventus, and I actually think they have half a chance. And they face a bang average team in the Europa League. And this weekend, they get to host their out-of-form rivals Inter, who only seem to win if their captain Mauro Icardi scores. And he's only done that once in 2018. So everything, and I mean everything, is flowing for Milan at the moment, and I do not see that slowing down this weekend. So I'm going to say Milan 2, Inter 1. And now we head to Spain for Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. And yes, this is it. This is the game that's going to decide everything. And I say this knowing that over the last 5 league games, Barcelona has seen their 11-point lead at the top of La Liga be cut down to just 5, despite maintaining their unbeaten status. And that's because they've drawn 3 out of their last 5 games, while second place Atleti have won all 5 of those, thanks to Antoine Griezmann, who is finally playing at the top of his game this season, which includes scoring 7 goals in his last 2 matches against Sevilla and Leganes. As for Barcelona, Leo Messi snapped out of his 5-game goal drought recently to score 4 in his last 3, and of course, he leads the goal-scoring chart with 23 goals because that's what he does. So, and I'm just stating the obvious here, I think he's going to be a pretty important person in this fixture, so Atleti might want to keep an eye on him. But anyway, back to what's at stake. It's a league title. So a victory for Atleti would cut the lead to 2 points, but a win for Barcelona puts the lead to 8, which means, with all due respect to El Clasico, this is the biggest game of the season, which is what I said at the beginning because it is, which means Atleti is probably going to suck all of the fun out of it by tactically fouling anyone who might be looking to do anything creative out on the field. and that's going to lead to a hard-fought 1-1 draw. And next up, we're bringing it stateside for the Seattle Sounders versus LAFC. And I chose this game amongst all the others in the opening weekend of MLS because I want to see what this brand new team LAFC is all about, especially since they have a manager in Bob Bradley who is coaching the World Cup and in the Premier League. So he's been around and he's seen some things, but I think him and his team will be tested in this one for a lot of reasons. One, Seattle's home support is some of the best in the league, so it's going to be loud and it's going to be intimidating. Two, the Sounders have the experience, as evidenced by them making it to the last two MLS Cup finals. And three, the Sounders have already played some meaningful games in the CONCACAF Champions League this season, so they should theoretically be in a better frame of mind and feel more prepared. However, this is LAFC's first game ever, so they are making history, which means I think they're going to be up for it. And with players like Mexican international Carlos Vela, Uruguayan international Diego Rossi, and Egyptian international Omar Gaber in their attack, and one of the top passers in MLS in Benny Feilhaber providing service for midfield, along with a solid back line and a solid goalkeeper. I'm just saying they got a chance. And isn't that what we all want as a fan or coach or player? A chance? That said, Seattle are at home. It's the first game of the season. There'll be 50,000 or more of their fans screaming behind them. And I don't think they're going to let those people down. So I think they're going to do the business and win 3-1. And now let's go south of the border for the biggest derby in Mexico, Chivas Guadalajara versus Club America. That's right, it's the Clásico Nacional between Mexico's most successful and most supported clubs. However, based off of current form, Chivas aren't exactly heading into this game full of confidence. They've won just once in the Clausura this season, drawing 4 and losing the other 4, which is like no mommy's way, you know? Which puts them currently 17th in the table, just 3 points from the bottom, which is where Atlas sits. But they did just advance in the CONCACAF Champions League, and this is a derby, so current form doesn't matter, which I probably should have said about Inter Milan in the Milan derby, but Inter are so bad right now. Anyway, for Club America, they are flying with an unbeaten start to the league campaign, so confidence is very high. But there was a recent training ground bust-up which included their newest signing, Jeremy Menez, who has a reputation for being, let's say, highly emotional. So I can't say I'm too surprised to hear about that given Menez's track record, but it will be something for Coach Miguel Herrera to have to manage heading into the big one, El Grande, which I believe is going to end 3-2. But I just haven't decided which club is going to win this one yet. So maybe you guys can help me in the comments. I mean, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of goals. I know that much. Also, here's some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. I'm just going to hold my face here for as long as I possibly can. I'm so handsome. Like Lazio versus Juventus, because I want to see if Lazio, who after failing to get a win over Juve for 4 straight years, have already beaten them twice this season, can do it for the 3rd straight time. I mean, I don't think they can, because there's no way Juve is going to let that happen. But when you have Serie A's leading scorer Ciro the Hero Immobile on your team, anything's possible. And then I'll be spying on Napoli versus Roma, because now that the league leaders Napoli are out of the Coppa Italia and the Europa League, they can focus all of their energy and concentration on winning the league without any distractions, and I think that's a good thing for them. So we'll see if they can win their 11th straight league game, which is very impressive in and itself, against a sometimes good, sometimes bad Roma team. And then I'll be spending some time watching the Bundesliga for RB Leipzig versus Borussia Dortmund, because even though it's 2nd versus 6th in the league table, they're only separated by 3 points, which speaks to how competitive it is in Germany. Well, how competitive it is for finishing 2nd, because Bayern Munich is super awesome. And I'll be keeping my eye on Hamburg versus Mainz, because the giant clock at Hamburg Stadium, which represents their record of playing in every single Bundesliga season since the Bundesliga formed, might be going down soon. They're without a win since November, and now they welcome fellow strugglers Mainz. Say it with me, Mainz, to their city, a team that they haven't been able to beat at home in their last 5 attempts. So this is kind of like the super sad derby. And speaking of derby, the currently in 4th place championship side hosts 5th place Fulham as both teams push for promotion back into the Premier League. But unfortunately, Derby are like the Romelu Lukaku of the championship, where they can't get the job done against the top 6 clubs in the league, which has to be cause for some concern since they only have 1 win from 6 games against these top 6 teams this season. So we'll see how they do this weekend. And finally, I'll be keeping these things on the Newcastle Jets versus Sydney FC in the A-League, because even though both of these teams have pretty much booked their tickets for the final series, this should be a great 2nd place versus 1st place affair, which could foreshadow any big games they end up playing against each other once the playoffs start. And all right, that is it. That that is all I got, except for this. Predict the right score for Manchester City versus Chelsea, and you'll be entered to win some Warm Ballers gear. Also, the finale for Career Mode, where manager Eno has a chance to win the double, is dropping very, very soon, so be on the lookout. And come on, Eno! You can do it! I believe in you. And also, for me, have a good or bad weekend, everyone. Later.